So let's fly over the Tshwane South TVET College campuses. And to do that, I want to take a line from Joburg to Pretoria. So let's start it going. Now on your left, you can see the huge township of Soweto, and on your right, the huge township of Kathuris. And then in between, with the massive gold reef with all the exhausted gold mines over there, you can see we've set up Johannesburg. And I want to show you how close Pretoria and Joburg are actually getting to each other, what we call a megalopolis, two cities spreading out and joining. So we're flying right over the Hillbrow Tower, which is actually the second highest building in Africa. And you can actually see the cities coming together by tracking the M1 and then the N1. There you have Sandton on your left and you have Alexandria on your right, classic apartheid setup. And now we're running through to the Midrand, and you can see as the N1 streaks off to Pretoria, you've got all these huge business parks straddling the highway. And with Centurion, you have an example of the expansion of Pretoria southwards and meeting the expansion of Joburg and the Midrand northwards. Now the Centurion campus is an absolutely fascinating place, and what you'll see is that it's intimately related to the Army and the Air Force, the South African National Defence Force. So on your left you can see South Africa's oldest Air Force base at Valhalla. It's called Swartkorp, and to your right you can see the Centurion campus. And you'll notice that it's located within a huge set of South African National Defence Force buildings, especially from the Air Force. And that's because historically this college and this campus provided the theoretical training for the Defence Force apprentices. So really this was old white men training young white men, and it was only in the 1990s that it was really opened up to become the dynamic and diverse campus that it is today. Now it's got fantastic workshops, so you can do electrical and mechanical engineering over here with a strong reputation for practical training and producing highly skilled apprentices. On top of that, it also has a business studies program and a really good strong sporting ethos over here, using all the South African Defence Force fields around the area to create a balanced theoretical combined with practical combined with sporting life over here. So now let's do a radical pull out eastwards to get a sense of how the Tshwane South College campuses all hang together. And the first thing I want you to look out for is the Hardebeesport Dam stretching in the distance with the Magaliesberg Range curving beautifully around to Rustenburg. And you can see Mamelodi, the township, right in the eastern side. And we're going to travel to the Attridgeville campus right on the western side. And I want to fly over the historically white and now still wealthy suburbs of Linwood and Brooklyn, where a whole lot of the students from the University of Pretoria stay, as you can see with the fuck off bar over there. And I want to catch the complex context of Tshwane South College by firstly flying over Freedom Park, which is now this heritage site for the people who've sacrificed their lives for freedom and a symbol of common humanity, set up purposefully right next to the Voortrekker Monument, built to celebrate a single cultural group, the Afrikaners' struggle for freedom through their migration away from the Cape, the Voortrekkers, and their eventual triumph in South Africa for a while, with this dominance heavily dependent on military might. And we're now traveling through the heartland of military might in South Africa, what was known as Voortrekker Hoogte. And before that, interestingly enough, it was called Roberts Heights after the British general who defeated the Boers. So once the Afrikaners came to power, they called it Voortrekker Heights. And now it's called tshwane, Black Mountain, in celebration of our new government. But new names don't get rid of harsh old realities. And we can see this as we fly over Laudium, the forced Indian township from where Umkhonto we Sizwe launched rocket attacks on Voortrekker Hoogte in the old days. And right next to it, in classic apartheid fashion, you have the historically black township of Attridgeville. Set up a long time ago, 1939, and named after a black sash activist. Her name was Myrtle Attridge. Now, the Attridgeville campus used to be the Attridgeville College, and it was conceived initially as a community college with the sole purpose of meeting the needs of the Attridgeville community. And what happened was the college was built with funds which were donated from Anglo-American and De Beers, their chairman's fund. So it opened in 1991, and it expanded dramatically over the next 5 years, opening distance learning programs in several off-site campuses. And then unfortunately what happened was the rector, who was over-ambitious and overextended, landed up causing severe tensions in the college itself, resulting in the dynamic upbuilding of this college collapsing downwards, and it has subsequently recovered as it's become a campus rather than a college. Now you can do electronical engineering over here and civil engineering, with a huge set of practical training in that civil engineering side. So in terms of the trades, you can do bricklaying and carpentry and plumbing and painting. You can also do cosmetology over here. Historically, there was a cosmetic salon by Estee Lauder. And furthermore, you can also do some of the business qualifications like office administration. You can do finance, economics and accounting, and you can do marketing. So now let's slowly pull out westwards, have a chance to appreciate the well-established housing infrastructure of Attridgeville, having made the best of a really difficult situation, and travel through to the Pretoria West campus. Now it's located in the old industrial area of Pretoria, and you'll quickly see that this is where the power station is located, as well as the old Pretoria iron mines. And this is basically where ISCOR started, 1928, which then went on to become one of South Africa's biggest state-owned enterprises, full with the apartheid history of protecting white workers and intimately involved in vocational training in this country. Eventually, by the way, it was taken over by Mittal in 2005. It was the first state-owned entity to be privatized. He was an Indian billionaire businessman, and it became a part of the world's biggest steel-making company, Mittal. Now, the Pretoria West campus is intimately tied up with ISCOR. So it used to be the Pretoria West Technical College. It was established in 1975. And initially it provided theoretical training to apprentices. But what happened was South Africa went through huge unemployment periods. And eventually the Pretoria West College of Engineering, as it was then called, recognized the opportunity and started to explore ways of offering practical training to students. So it established a partnership with ISCOR, and these were mainly black students that we're talking about. And what happened was, through ISCOR donations, they started up new practical workshops, and thousands of students came there per trimester to get practical training. So it's got this wonderful innovative history. So now it still has like way over 3,500 students. It's got 58 classrooms. It's got 7 computer laboratories. It's got an excellent training center with an engineering focus. And there you can do electrical engineering. You can be a millwright. You can do mechanical engineering. Lots of automotive stuff you can do over there. You can do fitting and turning. And on top of that, you can do instrumentation and boiler making. And as we pull out, you can get a wonderful sight of this old historical industrial area. We're going to fly over the South African Police Training College, the Weskoppies Psychiatric Hospital, the CMAX prison. And what I want you to get a sense of is that Pretoria really symbolizes what Althusser used to call the ideological state apparatuses, those parts of the state which kept things going for the dominant class. And when there's a revolution and one class or group takes over from another class, they inherit all these institutions and they have to transform them. And this is what makes Tshwane South so fascinating. It inherited Centurion, which was this old white military college. You've got Attridgeville, which was a community college established for the people in the area. And then you've got the Pretoria West, which was this industrial training ground for our apprentices. And these three had to be held together in a new functioning system. And I can think of no better way of symbolizing this than doing a trip down the old historical Church Street through the central buildings of Pretoria with the historical centre in Church Square, which was where the Voortrekkers kind of founded this dominant white capital, and then traveling through to what was the seat of government. The Union Buildings, built between 1909 and 1913 and located right on the highest point in Pretoria, the location for presidential inaugurations, initially a symbol of unity between the Afrikaners and the Englishmen who'd fought in the Anglo-Boer War. And you've got the two sides symbolizing English and Afrikaans, and then in the middle the unity. But now, after 1994, with the beautiful statue of Nelson Mandela, him being inaugurated there, to massive crowds celebrating. But as we fly over Mankieskop, we get a vision of what apartheid has actually left us with. So you get a sight of the old tshwane, basically a huge black labor reserve, completely separated from the richer white industrial zones, living in what are effectively dormitory suburbs, places where you can sleep, being forced to either go work in the white cities or in these artificial industrial zones set up in and around these dormitory suburbs. And you might be asking why Tshwane South TVET College has got this campus in the north, this OD campus. And you'd be right to ask that. Basically what happened was, in around about 1985, tshwane actually set up this college. It was called the OD Manpower Center. And after 2002, when all the mergers of TVET colleges happened, this was actually a part of Orbit TVET College because it was in the northwest. And then when the boundary started to change because of all the difficult complications around Gauteng and the northwest and Mpumalanga and Limpopo, all meeting around about here. Basically, Tshwane South took over this campus, and then Tshwane North took over the Temba campus. And it's over here that you can do mechanical and civil and electrical engineering. And you can also do office administration and can become a management assistant. You can do early childhood development over here. And there's strong practical training, especially in civil, automotive, and clothing production. And that gives us first sight of this fascinating Tshwane South TVET College and its campuses. And I'm framing it with the old tshwane in front of you, the beautiful Magaliesburg splitting off Pretoria from the massive mining developments which happened in Johannesburg with the gold reefs. And then you can clearly see this conurbation as Pretoria and Joburg are coming together, growing together into one huge city. And Tshwane South TVET College dealing with this complex history of white old military history combined with old Iskor, combined with Atteridgeville and community colleges, and then on top of that inheriting old tshwane colleges and holding it all together in what is actually a really functioning and effective TVET college.